So with the next Black Ops 6 Zombies map right around the corner, as you'd expect, the leaks have begun, where we've been told of things that we will be getting, things that we won't be getting that we thought we might, potential returning perks, new enemies that we'll be facing, and much more. So get straight into it. The new Zombies map, as was announced by Troik the other day, will be called Citadel de Morts. It takes place in Avalon, which is in Europe, in an abandoned castle, and Troik described it as a terrifying map. Besides from that, they also told us that we're going to be having a brand new perk, which will have 6 new augments to unlock, a new field upgrade, a new ammo mod, which will both have their own augments, 3 new gobblegums, a new support weapon called the hand cannon, new wonder weapons, yes, weapons, not weapon, and a new enemy type that is said to stalk the dark halls of the forbidding Ruinous Keep in Citadel de Morts. And a new leak that was tweeted out by Alex just yesterday confirms that the map will have 4 varieties of its wonder weapon. In the game files you can find the name for these, so they are Bloodstone Easy, Bloodstone Life, Bloodstone Fun, and Bloodstone Dope. So just like these situations that we saw in Darius and Draco where we had the 4 elemental bows, or Origins where we had the 4 elemental staffs, or even Alpha and Omega where we had the 4 different variants of the Ray Gun Mark II, in Citadel de Morts there will be 4 elements of the wonder weapon you can use in this map. Now, as to what the wonder weapon is, we still don't know, but some of the ideas or theories that have been thrown around are elemental swords, which would go with the castle setting. We already saw bows in Darius and Draco, so I doubt we're going to see them again, but elemental swords would be cool. We actually had a sword weapon in Shadows of Evil, but that was more of like a special weapon. The wonder weapon in that map was the Apothecon Servant, so in Citadel de Morts it would be the main wonder weapon. I like that, but if it is a sword, I don't want it to just be a melee weapon. It would need to have a fire ability on it as well, like the Crystal Axe and Forsaken. That's one of the best wonder weapons I've ever seen in zombies. Super underrated. I didn't use the axe melee attack as much as I did its second shooting attack where it turns into a gun, but just to have that option is cool. So if we did have elemental swords, you could have the melee attack, and it could also fire laser beams or Ethereum crystals, something out of it as well, especially if they contain elemental gems, because if you just look at the names of the wonder weapon, it's called Bloodstone Easy, Bloodstone Life, Bloodstone Fun, and Bloodstone Dope. So I would assume Bloodstone is the name of the standard wonder weapon, and then Easy, Fun, Life, and Dope are the different elements. There's no guessing from this what those elements will be. Fire, wind, storm, ice. In Darius and Draco we had the wolf bow. I suppose it doesn't have to be elements. It could be special abilities like that. But if Bloodstone is the basic version of the wonder weapon, I don't know, when I first heard that, it just reminded me of Sword in the Stone, that whole medieval castle sword vibe. It'd just fit this setting perfectly. So swords makes the most sense to me. We've had bows. Are there any other medieval weapons? A spear maybe? I was about to say we've already had a spear in zombies, but we haven't. I was thinking about the one in God of War Ragnarok, which by the way was really good. You could throw multiple of them, about 10 at once, at an enemy, and if that wasn't enough to kill it, you could then slam the spear you're holding on the ground, and all of those sticking inside of it would explode. I still didn't use that over Kratos' axe, but it was different and fun and would make a really cool wonder weapon in zombies. I've just remembered we have had a spear before, but it wasn't a wonder weapon. That was in Modern Warfare Zombies. And the only other one I could think of that would go with the theming is a shield, but that's not really a weapon. I suppose they could find a way to turn it into one where you have the bash ability and then it also has some kind of fire option, but we don't really have shields in zombies anymore. If we did, that would be useful. In Origins, the elements that we had for the staffs were lightning, fire, ice, and wind, and the elements in Alpha Omega for the Ray Gun Mark II were, if I remember correctly, Brain Rot, Cryo Freeze, Firebomb, and Kilowatt, which is electricity. I didn't use them all that much, but every time we've had a zombies map where there are 4 versions of that wonder weapon for you to use, it just means that if you're playing co-op, everyone in the game can get one instead of having to fight for it. And if you're playing solo, the map doesn't feel as repetitive because you don't have to use the same wonder weapon every single match. That's not the only thing that's being leaked though. Reality UK over on Twitter also said that the new perk coming to the map should be Vulture Aid, the new field upgrade is going to be Frost Blast, and the ammo mod, which is new, will be called Light Ray. Now, there have been other people that have come out and said both Vulture Aid and Death Perception might be coming to Black Ops 6 Zombies. Margwa Network tweeted, "It's important to bring up that they could be cut content, as you can also find Tombstone Soda in the game, but Kevin Drew himself, who is basically the co-director of Zombies, said that Tombstone wasn't well received in Black Ops Cold War. He knew that, so the likelihood of that perk returning, I think, is very low. I just can't see Tombstone coming back to BO6. That'd be a waste of Troik's time and a waste of everyone else's because no one uses it. But as for Vulture Aid and Death Perception, I can see them returning. Not both of them, because they're quite similar in how they work and the abilities you get from them. In my opinion, Vulture Aid is slightly better because when you kill zombies with it, they will give off a green gas. You can then stand in it and the zombies will ignore you for about 5 or 6 seconds. It's really useful. Death Perception didn't have that ability, but what Treyarch could do is, if they do bring back Vulture Aid, which is said to be the new perk, they could implement Death Perception into its augments. So choosing between some of its major or minor augments will give you Death Perception's abilities. And Treyarch have already done that with some of the other perks. Electric Cherry isn't in the game as a machine, but you can get it as an augment. It's the same with Dying Wish. That's the last major augment for Quick Revive. To be honest, I would prefer if we got new perks, ones that we've never seen before, but at least Vulture Aid is good and useful, unlike Tombstone Soda or Who's Who. Just looking at all of its abilities, it allows you to see things like the perks, wall weapons, the pack-punch machine, and the mystery box through walls. Zombies would occasionally drop small packets of ammo or points between 5 to 20. I don't really see how that feature would work in BO6 because the zombies already drop ammo in this game already, but the extra 5 to 20 points would be useful. Zombies' eyes, perk machines, the mystery box, and the pack-punch machine all had a brighter glow to them to make them more visible. And its fourth and final ability, as I mentioned, was that certain zombies would release a cloud of green gas when you killed them, and then if you stood inside of it, you would be ignored, which would be super useful on those mid to high rounds, round 30 to 35, when you get about 7 manglers spawning in on a round at once. If you could stand in that gas and just have them ignore you for even 5 or 6 seconds, that's enough time to do some damage to them, or even take one of them out, or focus on the amalgam or the abomination. And if Death Perception does end up being implemented into Vulture Aid via the augment system, well, the couple of other things that perk does is it outlines nearby enemies through walls, so you'll be able to see a zombie that's around the corner, and any nearby zombie that's off screen would be highlighted by a small white arrow on the HUD. That was in BO4, but again, that ability is not really useful. So the only difference between Death Perception and Vulture Aid, the only advantage Death Perception has, is it also outlines zombies through walls, but Death Perception is a much better perk. And then the final thing that was leaked was the new ammo mod called Light Ray. I couldn't really begin to guess what that's going to be. I also mentioned the other day, because it had been going around the community, that the Ray Gun Mark II could be returning in a future DLC map, but Alex, one of the big Call of Duty leakers, said there is currently no Ray Gun Mark II coming to Black Ops 6, which, if that's true, I'm slightly disappointed about, because even though we had it quite recently in Alpha Omega, it is a good wonder weapon, it is satisfying to use, and it would be nice to change it up from just the standard Ray Gun to have that as an option to get out of the mystery box as well. But according to this tweet, at the moment it's not planned to come to the game, which is weird because other credible leakers, I would call them, have said it is and that it can be found in the game files. And just because, as you can see with this next tweet, ZM_Grief suggesting that Grief is returning to Black Ops 6 Zombies, just because you can find this stuff in the coding doesn't mean it's coming to the game. It simply could just be left over from a previous one. That's a common occurrence. There have been other people that have said Grief is simply just left in string from Black Ops 2 Zombies. It could also be found in Cold War and Vanguard, but it never came to those games. So the likelihood of Grief coming to Black Ops 6, even though you can find it there, is probably like 1%. Treyarch have already come out and said they're purely focusing on round-based zombies this year. That doesn't mean we won't get special events, something like Jingle Hells we probably will, but as for a new or returning side mode like Grief or Turned, I just can't see that happening with BO6. But who knows, there's still a long way to go. But yeah, the new Zombies map looks awesome. The last time we had a castle setting was Dreisendrache, and that turned out to be one of the best maps in history to me. It's a top 3 map of all time, sometimes makes it into the #1 spot. It's contending with Origins and Shadows of Evil and Mob of the Dead. So some really good maps. DLC 1 is always important because it sets up the game for future maps. So if it's bad, then the game's going to lose a lot of players and not as many people are going to be interested by the time DLC 2, 3 and 4 comes out. So it's important that the first map is good so that people stay interested and have some belief that the rest of the game is going to keep up the same level of quality. So if it's anything like Dreisendrache, then I'm excited. And as far as the release date goes, it should be, this is just a guess, mid-December. So there we go. Thank you all for watching the video today. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed. If you have, drop a like rating, make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, goodbye.